The house made no sound when I opened the door. That's what did it. Not the blood later. Not the police tape. Not even the trial. Just that silence. A house should creak when you come home. A dog should bark. A floorboard should betray your weight. But this was like walking into a photograph, a still frame of the life I used to have. My name is Walter Kane. I'm 54. I live in what used to be a quiet piece of Ohio suburbia, the kind of place with flags on mailboxes and faded chalk drawings on the sidewalks. I taught high school history for 26 years. I coached JV football, even though I hated it. I made lunches. I folded laundry. I did everything I thought a husband and a father was supposed to do. And on September 17, 2021, my wife and my daughter were murdered in our living room, while I was grading essays about the French Revolution 2 towns over. The word murdered doesn't live in your mouth the way you think it would. It comes out flat, tasteless, like swallowing aspirin without water. But there it is. That's the wound, the place where time split in two before and after. Her name was Janie, my daughter, 17, hair like wildfire, the kind of kid who could smile and make you forget whatever goddamn thing was wrong with your life. And Marla, my wife, was a nurse at St. Vincent's, 21 years married. We weren't perfect, but we were good, steady. She loved humming when she cooked, and I used to make fun of her for it, called her my broken radio. She'd roll her eyes and keep on stirring. They died together, at home. From what the detective called a targeted entry, it means someone came in to do exactly what they did, slit Marla's throat in the kitchen, then turned to Janie. They think she tried to run. They think she made it to the stairs before I found them. That part matters. I'm the one who came home early. My grading wrapped up ahead of schedule. And I thought, hell, maybe I'll surprise them, bring some ribs, get takeout instead of cooking. I had the bag in my hand. I walked in smiling. There was still warmth in the food when I dropped it. You don't need the rest spelled out. It took 4 months for them to arrest someone. A kid Janie had gone to school with. Name was Devin Reyes, 18. No priors, no known motive. He confessed, said the voices told him to. Just like that, like a fucking movie line. The voices told him to. I watched him at the arraignment. Thin kid, bad skin, twitchy eyes. He looked at me once, just once, and in that second I swear to Christ I saw something. Not guilt, not fear. It was boredom, like we were just another stop on a long, pointless ride. They sent him to the state psych ward. Life sentence, no parole, case closed. But it didn't close anything, not for me, because there were things that didn't add up. Janie had texted me at 4:13 p.m. that day. Everything okay with mom? Just that. No context, just that question. And I texted back, yeah, why? No reply. I assumed she got distracted. She always did, but that message clawed at me later. Why would she ask that? I asked the detectives. They brushed it off. Probably something small, a mood, a look, a moment. But it festered, that question. It was like a splinter under my skin. So I started digging, not all at once. Grief doesn't let you do things clean. It comes in fog and waves. I'd sit in her room for hours, smelling her sheets like a lunatic. I'd listen to Marla's old voicemails and try to believe she was just at work. But at night when I couldn't sleep, I opened files, old emails, her laptop, her texts, and I found something. Janie had been talking to someone, not Devin. Not any of her friends, a burner number, lots of deleted threads, but some photos were saved in her cloud. One of them a picture of our kitchen table, with a single word under it, ready. I don't know how long I stared at that, and then I remembered the back door. A month before the murders, Janie asked me to fix the latch on the sliding door. It jammed sometimes. I never got around to it. I told her to use the deadbolt instead, but the police report said there was no sign of forced entry, no broken glass. No jimmied locks. They said she must have let him in, but what if she didn't? What if someone else did? That's when I stopped sleeping entirely. I started following Marla's friends, talking to people she worked with, people she carpooled with, and something kept coming up quietly, cautiously, like a buried bone that no one wanted to dig up. There was someone else, a man, not a name, not right away, but hints, a colleague, a friend. Someone who came by the hospital more than he needed to. One of the nurses finally gave me the name, Eric Dalka, pharmaceutical rep, 48, lived about 20 minutes away, divorced, no kids. I ran a background check, nothing serious, a DUI in 2014, some financial stuff. But here's the thing, he was in our house. I found him in a photo Janie took in June, blurred in the background, same shirt I saw on his Facebook page. Marla never told me, and suddenly that question, everything okay with Mom, wasn't just a question, it was a warning. I went cold inside. I asked the detectives again, did they look at other suspects, anyone else connected to the family? They told me to grieve in peace. That's when I stopped trusting the world entirely. I started watching Eric. I parked outside his house in a car I borrowed from an old coaching friend. No plates, no trail. I watched his routines. When he left, when he came back, when he walked his dog. I started seeing things, patterns. He was cautious, too cautious. Checked his rearview mirror obsessively. Looked over his shoulder even on empty streets. And one night, I followed him. He didn't go to the gym like usual. He drove out past the edge of town, to a farmhouse with no lights, sat there in the car for 20 minutes, then drove off again. I checked the property later. Belonged to a shell company, one that Devin Reyes's mother once worked for. You want to know what I felt? Rage? Certainty? No, just cold, the kind that gets into your marrow and stays, because that's when I knew the truth. Devin didn't do it alone. He was the knife, someone else held the handle, and I had a name now, Eric Dalka. The world didn't shift all at once. That's not how these things happen. It was slow, methodical, like someone unscrewing the bolts on a bridge you're still standing on. I started keeping a journal, not a diary. Don't mistake me for some sentimental wreck. I needed facts, times, dates, license plate sightings, phone calls, license numbers. I tracked Eric like he was a goddamn deer, and I was learning his migration pattern. He wasn't a ghost, not exactly, but he was careful. He didn't use his own phone much, bought gas in cash, paid for groceries with a prepaid Visa. All the little paranoid habits of someone who has something to hide. I still remember the first time I saw him smile. He was coming out of a Walgreens, talking to the cashier, some young girl with a lip piercing and purple hair. He said something, and she laughed, and he touched her arm. Just a small touch, like he was human. And I stood there in my car, engine off, watching him load a paper bag into his trunk and thinking, how can you smile? My wife and daughter were buried in the ground, and this bastard was buying toothpaste. It made me shake, like my body didn't know how to hold itself together anymore. So I followed him harder, dug deeper. I found out about a storage unit he kept in a separate county. I tailed him there one Thursday morning in October. He didn't see me. He opened it, stayed inside for 8 minutes, then left. Just like that. I waited until night, cut the padlock, used gloves, quiet, no lights. Inside was a room full of nothing that screamed everything. Bleach, plastic sheets, boxes of burner phones, an old refrigerator, unplugged, sealed with duct tape, a drawer full of SIM cards, and photos, some of Marla, some of Janie, but also others, girls I didn't know, smiling. Some looked young enough to be in middle school. All candid shots, park benches, store entrances, bedrooms, taken through windows. And one of them was Devin, not a mugshot, a picture of him sitting on a park bench, talking to Eric, both smiling. That's when my hands started to go numb, because I knew, without needing more, that this wasn't just about my family. This was bigger, and no one was coming to stop it. You ask yourself strange questions when you're staring down the void. Not why did this happen? You give up on that. The universe doesn't owe you reasons. But what am I now? That one sticks. I wasn't a teacher anymore. I wasn't a husband. I wasn't a father. I was something else. Something with only one direction left. So I built a plan. Revenge isn't what people think. It's not fight. It's not chaos. It's discipline, precision, a goddamn scalpel. I started preparing. I watched old interrogation tapes, took notes on how killers cracked, what they feared, what made them talk, what made them scream. I bought the tools, quietly, one at a time, from different stores, cash only, a heavy-duty zip tie pack, A roll of industrial plastic sheeting, a crowbar, weighted, a steel folding chair, and a Beretta M9 from a man named Ray, who didn't ask too many questions about why a grieving 54-year-old school teacher needed a military sidearm. I set up the room in a property my father left me after he died, a cabin by the lake, long forgotten by everyone but the mold. I cleaned it, soundproofed it, padded the windows, turned it into something between a mausoleum and a courtroom. I rehearsed, replayed what I'd say when I had him there. Why her? Why them? How long? But every time I said the words, they sounded smaller than the silence that followed. Hi. I caught him 2 weeks before Christmas. I used his dog. He always walked the thing on the same path, same route, 6:10 p.m. I left a trail of ground beef leading to a blind alley. When the dog tugged toward it, he followed. I was waiting with a rag and a needle. He woke up tied to the chair. No dog, no phone, just the echo of wind through boarded windows. Walter. He croaked. His voice was hoarse. Not afraid. Not yet. You remember my name? I said. He nodded, blinking. His lip was split, probably hit the floor on the way down. I remember your wife, your daughter too. How convenient. Look, I don't know what you think. I struck him. Open palm. Sharp. His head snapped sideways. Don't start with that. He coughed. You don't understand. Don't. You say one more word that isn't the truth, and I swear to God. He smiled. You think this is justice? He said, blood in his teeth. I didn't answer. Just stood, walked in circles around him, watching the panic try to grow inside him like a flower in winter. You remember Devon Reyes? He didn't answer. I grabbed a folder of photos from the storage unit, dropped them on his lap. He flinched. That's you. That's you. That's him. That's Janie. That's my kitchen. His lips trembled, but still no fear, just something worse. Recognition. You used him, I said. You groomed him, fed him whatever sick fantasies you needed him to act out. You made him believe it was real. I didn't kill anyone. No, you just pulled the strings. She came to me, he said suddenly. Your wife, Marla, she was lonely. You think she was happy with you? Mr. Boring American History. She hated your routine. She wanted to feel alive. I struck him again. He spit blood on the floor. You killed my family. She was already dead inside, he hissed. I just helped her admit it. That broke something in me. I wanted to put the bullet in his skull right there, but I didn't, because I still needed to know why. Over the next 2 days, I kept him there. No food, barely water, just questions. And slowly, like peeling bark from a rotted tree, the truth came out. Eric was part of a ring, a network. They didn't traffic children, not in the traditional sense. They hunted vulnerabilities, lonely kids, broken mothers, isolated boys, manipulated them, coerced them, filmed them, used them. Sometimes it ended in violence, sometimes in suicide, sometimes worse. Devon was one of their tools. Janie, she was a threat. She found something she wasn't supposed to see. Eric whispered, his eyes twitching from dehydration. She was clever. She went through her mom's phone, found messages, found photos. She asked questions. So you killed her. I told Devon what to do, told him the only way to silence the voices was to follow the signs. He smiled again, weak this time. You'd be surprised how easy it is to convince a lost boy he's a prophet. That night, I stood outside the cabin for 3 hours, just breathing, staring at the trees, wondering if I should burn the whole thing down with me inside it. Instead, I went back. I showed him the gun. This is the part where you beg. He didn't. He just closed his eyes. You'll never stop it, he whispered. Maybe not, but I'll stop you. The bullet went in clean through his temple, out the other side. He slumped forward like a sack of meat. His blood hit the floor like a slow leak. And that was it. The moment I had built my entire soul toward. But it wasn't peace. It wasn't anything. Just a noise. Just another silence after it. I buried him near the lake, 6 feet down, plastic wrapped. No ID. The body hasn't been found. It's been 2 years now, and I can't stop shaking. They never came looking for him. No missing persons report. No headlines. No detectives knocking on doors. It was like the world had already decided Eric Dalker didn't matter. Or maybe they knew better than to look. Maybe his kind goes missing quietly, eaten by the machine they helped build. Either way, the silence that followed was louder than the shot that killed him. I went back to teaching for a while, part-time, AP history, only the seniors. They were easier to lie to. Their eyes were already turned toward college, and none of them had known Janie. The new principal was younger than I was, bright-eyed and too polite to ask about the court case or the rumors. My hands kept shaking when I wrote on the board. I told them it was arthritis. I don't think any of them believed me. At night I'd lie in bed and stare at the ceiling fan. I'd hear the whir and imagine it was her voice, Janie's, asking me why I didn't stop it sooner, why I let it happen. I started drinking again. I'd quit after Janie was born. Marla had asked me to, said she didn't want her daughter growing up with the smell of whiskey in the walls. But now the walls were gone. The house was sold. New family, new paint. I kept nothing but the photo albums and the urns. They sat on a shelf I never dusted, guarded by dust and guilt. On the first anniversary, I drove back to the storage unit. It was gone, cleaned out, no lease in the system, no record, but the smell of bleach still clung to the floor like a whisper. I filed an anonymous tip to a journalist I'd found digging around local corruption cases, sent him the names, Eric's company, the burner numbers, a copy of the photo with Devon. I never heard back, but 2 months later, he was killed in a hit and run. The article was never published. That's when I started to suspect the rot went deeper than Eric. I started seeing signs, things I wouldn't have noticed before. Judges who dropped charges, therapists who suddenly left town, teachers who got reassigned after disciplinary incidents with no record. I'd go to the supermarket and wonder who was part of it. I'd look at parents at school functions and wonder which of them had seen something, said nothing. Paranoia doesn't come all at once. It trickles. It rewires your brain, makes you see shadows where there's only light. Or maybe the shadows were always there, and now I could finally see. One night, I saw Devon again, not in person, on the news. A short segment, local youth institutionalized for triple homicide attempts suicide. They showed a photo, older now, pale, gaunt, eyes like pits. I watched it 3 times, recorded it, froze it on his face. Something inside me twisted. He looked like a boy who had never been human, or had been human once and forgot how. They said he'd tried to hang himself in the laundry room with a sheet. They stopped him in time. He was in intensive care. I sat in the dark with a glass of rye and stared at the screen. I should have hated him. I should have wanted him dead. But all I saw was a broken puppet, a tool. Eric had used him, and now he was discarded. And part of me, God help me, pitied him. I started visiting him, not officially. I posed as a chaplain volunteer, wore the collar, brought a Bible, signed the visitor logs with someone else's name. The guards didn't care. He wasn't violent, just lost. He barely spoke the first 3 times, just sat there, hands limp in his lap, mouth slightly open. On the 4th visit he looked up. "Do you believe in hell?" he asked. I didn't answer, because I think I'm already in it. "Why?" I asked. He smiled. "Because every night I hear them, all of them, the ones I hurt, the ones I didn't save, they scream inside my teeth." I looked at him then, really looked, and saw the map of scars on his arms. "They told me I'd be a hero," he whispered, "that the world had to be purified, that the sinners had to go first." "Who told you that?" He didn't answer, just looked at me with a child's eyes in a murderer's face, and I knew. He didn't remember their names anymore, only the voice, Eric's voice, Eric's voice. The 4th movement of my life began in silence. No police, no courtrooms, no news, just me, and the slow unraveling terror of what I'd become. Because I didn't stop after Eric, not really. I started collecting names, faces, stories that didn't make sense, obituaries of children who slipped into rivers, high schoolers who ran away and were never found, men like Eric, clean-cut, professional, who vanished quietly without ever being searched for. I tracked one to Indiana, another to Pennsylvania, each time the same pattern: influence, isolation, control, victims with no power and predators with too much. I didn't kill them, not at first. I left evidence, sent anonymous tips, planted files in their homes. Some were arrested, most weren't, and slowly, piece by piece I crossed the line again, not with anger, not with hate, with the cold certainty of a surgeon. 2 more died by my hands, both buried far from any road, no fanfare, no screams, and each time, I waited for the peace. It never came. Now I sit in my father's cabin, the place where I first became the thing I am. I haven't left in 3 weeks. My teeth ache from grinding, My hands bleed from the cold. My mind, it no longer feels like it belongs to someone human. I stare at the lake, and sometimes I see Janie's reflection. She's never smiling. I know I'm being watched. The last man I followed disappeared before I could act. I found tire tracks near the cabin the next day. I know what that means. Someone else knows. Maybe it's the others. Maybe they've been watching me, the way I watched Eric. Maybe I was never the avenger, just the bait for something bigger. I keep the gun by the door now. I don't sleep. I don't dream. But sometimes when the wind shifts, I hear Janie humming the same tune Marla used to make when she cooked. And I wonder, did I kill the man who hurt my family? Or did I become him? I leave that question here on this page, because I don't know the answer anymore. My name is Walter Kane. I was a husband. I was a father. And now I am something else entirely. Something the world made. Or maybe something it always needed. If this confession finds its way to anyone, don't look for me. Don't forgive me. Just remember that evil doesn't always look like a monster. Sometimes it looks like a man trying to make things right, and failing. Something to close the circle. I'll give you this. A week ago, I received a letter. No name, no return address. Just a piece of heavy paper folded into thirds, the edges slightly burnt. Inside, a photograph of Janie, taken 2 days after her supposed death. She was standing at a gas station, blurry, distant, back turned, red hoodie up, just a sliver of her cheek exposed. But it was her. I knew it in my bones. And under the photo, just 2 words, handwritten in ink that bled through the paper, still burning. I stared at it for hours. I tried to tell myself it was fake, a hoax, someone sick playing with a grieving man's broken mind. But then I found the hoodie, the one she was wearing in the photo. I had given it away, months after the funeral. Dropped it in one of those Goodwill bins off Route 33. I remembered the hole near the left cuff. She used to pick at it when she was nervous. It was in the photo, the same hole, and my whole reality ruptured like wet paper. What if she hadn't died? What if the body they buried wasn't hers? What if Devon didn't kill her? What if the whole thing, my entire goddamn crusade, was built on a lie? I dug up the autopsy report. It was vague. Trauma consistent with sharp force injury. Dental records were used for identification, but the dental x-rays were old. Janie hadn't been to the dentist in over a year. Marla had forgotten to reschedule her cleaning. Could they have made a mistake? Could someone have made sure they made one? I contacted the ME's office. The woman who handled the case had retired 6 months after Janie's death, moved to Arizona. No forwarding address. No professional record past 2022. I found the funeral director next. Asked him a simple question. Who verified the body? He flipped through papers, frowned. We deferred to the state's identification, he said. It was already sealed when we received it. You didn't see her face? No, sir. And that was it. My world cracked again. The next day, I went back to the lake, dug up Eric's body. Not because I didn't believe he was dead. I knew he was. I felt the bullet tremble through his skull. I dug him up because I needed to see. I needed to make sure something was real. The bag was intact. The body had rotted beyond recognition, but the jawline was still his. The suit I'd buried him in still clinging to what remained of his bones. I looked into those hollow sockets and whispered, "Did you fake it?" The trees gave no answer, just the wind. I started watching the news again, looking for glimpses, patterns, disappearances that mirrored Janie's. Girls reported missing, only to have bodies returned within days. Each time, closed caskets, quick identifications, officials with sudden retirements, and there were more than a few. Same goddamn red hoodie. And I realized, this wasn't a ring, this was a harvest. Janie wasn't killed, she was taken, and I had been sent on a path of distraction, a vengeance loop, a killing spree designed not to destroy the system, but to keep it fair. I was the knife now, not the hand. I had done exactly what they wanted. I had killed the only man who might have told me where she was. Eric hadn't been the spider, he was just another web. And the moment I put him in the ground, I cut off my only line to the truth. I see it now, clear as ice. They let me find him, they wanted me to. A grieving father with a clean record and a fractured psyche. The perfect assassin, disposable, believable, controlled by his own grief. A man chasing justice never questions the road he's on. I almost put the gun in my mouth that night, not out of guilt, not out of pain, out of the horrifying endless knowledge that I helped them. that every death I caused had been orchestrated, predicted, anticipated, that I wasn't a rogue, I was a ritual, and the gods I served were far older, deeper, and more faceless than I ever imagined. Maybe you think I'm unraveling, but explain this. 2 nights ago, I received another letter, no return address, just a photograph, this time Marla, alive, walking into a clinic in South Dakota, and behind her, Janie, her hair cut shorter now, eyes tired, but unmistakable, and under the photo, one sentence, "You were never the target." I've stopped asking questions. I've stopped trying to make sense. Some truths exist outside logic. Some systems aren't built to be broken, they're built to break you. I see that now. I've stopped searching for Janie, not because I don't love her, but because I know what will happen if I try. I'll be given another target, another Eric, another trail of blood to follow, and each time I'll go, believing I'm saving someone, when all I'm doing is silencing another scream. I've become a story they tell their newest recruits. Look what grief can do. I'm the cautionary tale. I'm the product. I'm the weapon. And yet, some nights I dream of her, Janie, walking through the door holding a backpack, her face lit by some invisible sun. "You did your best, Dad," she says, and I believe her, until I wake up and remember the hoodie, the red hoodie, the one I gave away, the one that came back, the one that still smells like ash. I end this not with peace or apology, I end it with a mirror. If you've read this far, ask yourself, what would you have done if the world shattered in front of you, if the people you loved were stolen, not by force but by manipulation, by a system designed to look like your neighbor, your pastor, your pharmacist, if the line between truth and delusion blurred so finely that you couldn't tell if your daughter was a memory or a ghost on a leash? Would you still be whole? Would you still be you? Or would you become what I did, a story in someone else's file, a caution carved in grief, a father with blood on his hands and nothing in his arms? My name is Walter Kane. This is the last thing I will ever write. The lake is frozen, the gun is loaded, and somewhere out there, my daughter is walking in a hoodie that doesn't belong to her anymore. I won't follow, I won't fight, because the real revenge is leaving their system without a puppet. No more strings, just silence, and a long white winter. They say silence is the sound of peace, but I've lived long enough to know better. Silence is just what's left when the noise is gone, when the bullets stop, when the yelling dies, when the names are forgotten and the faces blur. It isn't peace. It's aftermath. I'm writing this by hand now. No more screens, no more drives or traceable tech, just a yellow legal pad and a pen that skips when the ink gets cold. The lake outside has started to thaw. I watch it every morning. Steam rises from the cracks in the ice like ghosts trying to leave the water. Some days I imagine Janie walking across it, not in fear, not in shame, just walking, like none of this ever happened. I wonder if she remembers me. I wonder if she's been told I'm dead, or worse, that I was never real, that she was born from another name, raised by another man. And all this, the school, the house, the dog, the birthday candles, was just a dream put in her head to control her. Maybe that's why she never came back, not because she didn't want to, but because she doesn't know she's gone. I keep thinking about the phrase, still burning. It's not a threat. It's not even a message. It's a confession. Someone out there knows what they did, and someone else is paying the price. I've started cataloging the disappearances again, just names now, girls mostly, a few boys, all within the same age range, all fitting the same profile, a little too curious, a little too loud, a little too seen, and they vanish, one by one, quiet as snowflakes. Every third one is found, but the body is always burned, mutilated, or unrecognizable. DNA matching done via siblings or dental records over a year old. I see the pattern clearly now. Every discovery erases a question. Every solution kills the search. The most painful part, I don't know if Marla's alive. The photo, they could have faked that, or maybe it was her. But from years ago, maybe she did die, maybe she didn't. I have no way to know anymore. But what's worse is this, I don't know if I want her to be. If she's alive, then she was part of it, at least complicit, at worst a recruiter. She loved Janie, I know she did. I saw it in the way she brushed her hair, packed her lunches, folded her shirts with that little corner tuck she always did. But maybe that was the training. Maybe love was the lie. Maybe I was the lie. I found an old voicemail from Marla yesterday. One of the ones I kept stored on that ancient flip phone buried in a shoebox under the floorboards. I had to charge it with wires I duct taped together. Her voice crackled through the speaker, warped and tired. "Hey, I forgot the chili powder again. Can you pick it up on your way back? Also, Janie asked about your mom. She's really starting to remember stuff now. It's kind of amazing. You should see her face when she talks about fishing. I'll see you tonight. I love you." It destroyed me, because for 1 second I believed it all again. That we were real, that none of this happened, that I was just a man driving home to Chile and stories and the woman I'd loved since 1999. That my daughter was upstairs in her room playing guitar, not being turned into a ghost for someone else's game. But the phone clicked, and the silence returned, and I remembered what I am. Not a husband, not a father, not even a man anymore, just the absence of those things. So here's the final truth, if you can call it that. I was not avenging anyone. I was erasing myself, slowly, deliberately. Each act of revenge was a memory torn from the wall, each burial a photograph set on fire, until nothing was left but ash. That's how they win. They don't kill you all at once. They let you do it to yourself. They let you believe it's your idea, that you're saving someone, that you matter, and by the time you realize you don't, it's too late to be anything else. I left the last photograph, Janie, walking away from the clinic in a locked box, the keys in the lake. If you want it, you'll have to freeze your hands bloody. If you're reading this because you think you can fix something, stop now. You won't. You'll just become another reflection of me, a man chewing glass and calling it justice. And when the story ends and the blood dries and the world forgets you, you'll still be burning too. This is Walter Kane, and this is where the fire ends. No graves, no tombstones, just this page, and whatever you choose to become after reading it.